Hello fellow book lovers, my name is Giselle and welcome to the Adventures of Giz. Today I'm talking about the 20 books I have to read in 2020. First up, we have the second book in the Curse Breaker series, and that is A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. I absolutely adored Curse So Dark and Lonely last year, and I cannot wait to read the next book in the series. In this, we follow a girl called Harper as she is taken from our world into a fantasy world called Emberfall, and it is funny and serious and interesting and just absolutely an amazing read. Next up, we have the second book in the series, and that is Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tommy Ademi, and I cannot wait to read the second book in the series. In the first book, we follow a girl called Zeli who has magic in a kingdom where magic is outlawed, and Zeli goes on a quest type of adventure, and it is just such an amazing story. If you haven't read the first book, definitely read it. I adored it and I cannot wait to read the second one. Then we have God's Grave by J. Kristoff, and this is the second book in the Nevernight series, and I absolutely adored Nevernight, but I needed some time after finishing it. I've heard that God's Grave will just ruin me, so I need to wait until the right time in order to read this. Next, we have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Scythe is set in this world in the future where humans just don't die anymore because there are all these technologies to bring you back from death, and basically everybody lives forever until a scythe basically chooses who dies when. And in the first book, we follow two apprentices as they both have an opportunity to become a scythe. So far I'm really loving it. The world is amazing and the storyline is really dark, but great. I love it so far. Then we have another book that has been on my TBR forever, and that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This year I feel like it's definitely the year for me to do this and read this, and I cannot wait to continue reading this. We follow a boy called Simon Snow who is basically a chosen one, and he has magic, and he goes to a boarding school for magic users. I just need to be in the right mood to read it, but I feel like it's definitely going to be the year for me to read this book. Next up, we have The Diviners by Libba Bray, and I have not read any of the books in the series, but I think I have the first two books. I've decided it is time for me to just finally get to reading The Diviners. In this, we follow a girl called Evie O'Neill, and she moves to New York, and it is set in the 1920s. She has an uncle who's obsessed with the occult, and one day he is called to a crime scene where an occult symbol was found with a murdered body. I'm not explaining this very well, but I think that does it justice. I don't know much else about this book other than I'm going to love it because it has been recommended to me by a lot of people who have the same taste as me. And I think it's going to be a really good one. I can't wait to read it. Next up, we have a book that has been on my TBR for so long and I've just been putting it off. It is Illuminae by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and this book is just such a unique format that it kind of scares me every time I look at it. So what I've decided to do is I will read it alongside the audiobooks. If I read it alongside the audiobooks, it will help me keep track of what is going on, and I think that will really help me because as much as the visual appeal of it is amazing, I need a jump start to get into the series because, like I said, it's really unique and strange and I need some help to get into it, but I feel like I'm definitely going to love it. This is just an adventure, a space adventure, and I'm excited for that. It looks super good and so many people love this series, so I've decided it is time I finally get to it. Next up, we have Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer, and this is the second book in the Renegade series. I read Renegades last year and I loved it. We follow a girl called Nova as she goes undercover into this Renegades compound, and the Renegades are basically the superheroes of the world, and Nova has some ties to the supervillains, so she is basically stuck between these two worlds, and it is just a fantastic book. I adored it, and I cannot wait to read Arch Enemies because Supernova came out in December, so I'll probably read Arch Enemies and then Supernova immediately afterwards. Next up, we have one that my best friend got me for Christmas, and I'm so happy, and that is Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. In this, we follow a girl called Alex Stern as she is invited to Yale and into one of their secret societies. The other thing about this world is that there is secret magic, yeah, there's like magic in this society, and it looks really, really interesting. Apparently it's very dark, there are a lot of trigger warnings, and I am so excited for it. No matter how dark and serious it gets, I think it is going to be absolutely amazing. I cannot wait. Next up, we have the third book in the Truly Devious series, and that is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson, and I cannot wait for this book because I have read Truly Devious and The Vanishing Stare so quickly. This series is fantastic. It is a YA mystery series, and in it we follow a girl called Stevie Bell as she goes to Ellingham Academy. Stevie is obsessed with a cold case from the 1930s, and Ellingham Academy just happens to be the center or the setting for this cold case. So we are in this very eerie atmosphere, and Stevie is a fantastic character, and I cannot wait to see how the series ends. Next up, we have one that I have been wanting to read as well forever because I absolutely love the world, and that is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. Now, this is the first book in the Dark Artificer series, and I have been meaning to read the series forever, but my biggest problem is I just get way too attached to Cassandra Clare's characters, so it's really difficult for me to start her books or finish her books because I love her characters way too much, which is not a problem, but for me it just means I put off starting and finishing her books. If you don't know anything about shadow hunters, they are basically demon hunters, and they keep peace between the humans and the supernatural world, and these shadow hunters live in institutes. This specific one, we follow a girl called Emma, and she and her parabatai live in the Los Angeles Institute. I think it's set in 2013 or 14 or 15, somewhere around there, but it just looks fantastic. I cannot wait to start the series. I'm pretty sure I'm going to absolutely adore this just as much as I'd adore The Infernal Devices. Speaking of The Infernal Devices, it is about time I finish Clockwork Princess. Now, I have been putting off finishing this book for so long. I then just got over myself last year, binge read most of the book, and I literally have, I think, 60 pages left of this book, and I just stopped reading because I didn't want it to end. I have such a problem when it comes to finishing this book. This series has just been so hard for me to finish, not because it's difficult to read, but just because it is so difficult for me to let go of these characters that I am so obsessed with. In The Infernal Devices, we follow a girl called Tessa as she goes to London to find her brother. Along the way, she is kidnapped and then is saved by two shadow hunters called Jem and Will. And these characters are some of my favorite characters in literature. They are fantastic, and if you like shadow hunters or you like this idea of basically the supernatural, I definitely suggest reading the series. And in this, we just have better characters, we have a fantastic setting, which is 1880 London, and it is just a great book. Next up, we have the second book in a Darker Shade of Magic series by V.E. Schwab, and that is A Gathering of Shadows. In the first book, we follow a magician called Cull as he is allowed to travel between alternate universes. So he can travel between Red London, White London, Grey London, and he does have the ability to travel to Black London, but the portal to Black London was closed off. So we have this very interesting main character who's got a little bit of magic, and it's just a fantastic world. I love V.E. Schwab. I just love the characters and the world, and I cannot wait to jump back into the series because a lot of people have told me that the series just gets better with every book. Next up, we have The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater, and I'm currently re-listening to the first book on audiobook, and I'm really liking re-listening to The Raven Boys, so The Dream Thieves is definitely on my to-read list for this year. In this, we follow a girl called Blue, and Blue is basically part of a family of psychics, and what she does is she amplifies the psychic abilities around her. Blue meets this group of boys called the Raven Boys, and they are led by Gansey, and this just turns into this epic adventure with magic and basically trying to find this treasure that Gansey has been after for years. I do think that with me re-listening to the first book and starting the next book, I think my love is really going to finally come together for the series like I've always wanted it to. The next book on my list is a book that I have wanted to read probably longer than any other book on my TBR, and that is Graceling by Kirsten Kishore. Now, in Graceling, we follow a girl called Katza, and Katza has a grace, which is basically exceptional abilities that appear in some people in this world. And Katza's grace is the grace of killing. And that just sounds like a fantastic start and introduction to a great character. I can't wait to read this. And like I said, this has been on my TBR forever, so I can't wait to read it. Speaking of books that have been on my TBR forever, we have Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. Now, this book is also basically a classic YA fantasy, so I'm really excited to read it. I've started already, but in it we follow a princess, a rebel, and a sorceress, and basically there are kingdoms that are on the verge of war, and each of these characters has a different role to play. Now, this just looks fantastic. I know that I'm going to love it. I already have read the prologue. I am really excited for this, and it looks like it's gonna be a good one. Next up, we have the fourth and final installment in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kerry Maniscalco. Now, this series I have loved since I picked up Stalking Jack the Ripper. I cannot wait to get Capturing the Devil, and it just looks like it is a good conclusion to a fantastic series. In the series, we follow a girl called Audrey Rose who lives in the 1880s, and she fights to do what she loves, which is study forensic sciences. And along the way, we have mysteries, and they are fantastic. We have some fantastic mysteries, and we also have some fantastic love interests. So great. We have amazing characters. The setting is amazing. I love it so much. And the writing is also very gruesome and dark, but so totally worth my nightmares. Next up, we have a book that me and a friend were supposed to buddy read, I think like in September or October, and that is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. But in this, we follow a girl called N as she goes to the city of New Rains to find her missing mother. Now, in the city, we have this very dark setting, and I cannot wait to carry on reading this with my buddy reading partner. We have decided that we will definitely read it this year sometime, so it is on my most definite reads of 2020. Next up, we have Legendary by Stephanie Garber, and this is the second book in the Caraval series. In Caraval, we follow two sisters. We follow Scarlett and Donatella, and Scarlett goes after Donatella, who runs off to a magical, mysterious circus. I really don't know how else to explain these books, but that is a good description because the first one is very much a mystery, and we have these very intriguing and dark, mysterious characters throughout the book, and it was just a fantastic book. I have been wanting to read Legendary since I read Caraval, but every time I think about opening it, I just kind of run away and read something else. But I think this year is the year for me to read Legendary and probably Finale as well. But right now, I'm just setting my sights on reading Legendary because I need to do this finally. I need to finally read it. And last, but certainly not least, we have Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. Oh, look, that rhymed. So I have been reading this series forever, which means that I really have put off finishing it. It is one of my favorite series of all time. She is a fantastic, fantastic writer. I cannot wait to read this book, even though I know I'm going to be so tragically sad that all of my favorite characters just are going to leave me. I love this series and this world so much, I don't want it to go. In this, we follow a girl called Selena Sardothian as she is taken out of a slave encampment to be part of a competition to determine who will become the king's assassin. Now, this follows this awesome assassin. She's sassy, she's funny. We have amazing side characters. When we get to the third and fourth book, we have amazing plot developments going on. This is just an amazing series. If you haven't read it, pick it up. It's very intimidating to look at all the books together, but just start with the first one. It is a great series. It is a great read. It will probably always be one of my favorite series. So there we have the 20 books I have to read in 2020. I have definitely decided that every single one of these are going to be read this year. I see a lot of 5-star reads in my future, clearly, and I think this year is going to be a fantastic reading year. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and ring the bell if you want notifications. I will be posting regularly now that I am back from holiday. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Have a fantastic day and have a great reading year for 2020.